Hello everyone and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick. This is a Boozecast, not a daily ramble. Had a bit of a nightmare this evening. Done a brilliant show with myself, John Kamau, and our very own Jay. Really good show, but we had a bit of a nightmare with connectivity, so I've had to go on a marathon editing session. There were large portions of this show where I couldn't see or hear Jay, but I'm hoping that you don't really notice throughout this because it worked really well. You know, we kind of mediated ourselves through John. Quite proud of it. I'm quite proud of it. So I hope you appreciate the show. Put a lot of effort into this one. I think it's a really good watch. Some really good points made. We talk about a new player that's linked, a very exciting new player, and we talk about pretty much everything. So yeah, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. It does really help the channel, and drop a like. That's the most important thing. It does help. It tells the YouTube algorithm to share it around, and makes me feel good as well. Makes me feel good. So help a man out. Drop a like on the video. And on with the show. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Boozecast. The last episode was myself and John. How are you doing, John?
I'm all right, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. This week, we're also joined by Jay, who's just been for a swim, as per usual, which is his normal daily thing that he does. How are you, Jay?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. It's funny because as you said that, I've got a shirt on, but I've got my swimming shorts on.
You got your...
So,
Did
yeah,
you,
I'm really good.
How was your new inflatable for the pool? Was it good?
That's just over there. Mate, it's like an armchair. It's like I've got a thing for inflatables, but yeah, this one's special. So yeah, keep it clean. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm good to be here, and it's good to see you on here, John, as well. I'm honoured to be a part of this. So I'm looking forward to it.
Lovely to see you, Jay. I was thinking to myself when you were sitting there like a mugshot, I was thinking he actually looks like a potentially very, very dangerous man abroad.
He does. He does.
Let me say one more thing. So I was going to be quite funny. I was going to go down to my storage and dig out. I managed to nick when I left Nick. To nick a HMP prison shirt. It's like a thing for cons to take out with you. I was going to stick it on. I thought this would be brilliant. Let me jump on with the prison shirt. But I fought against it.
You look like a very sophisticated foreign-based hired assassin. It's good. It's good look.
It does. It does.
Thanks, mate.
It's just when you smile, you ruin the image. So
I know.
Well, truth is, I sell DVDs on the beach.
Right. Well, as you all know, we haven't signed a player yet. But it's been getting the tension's been building over the last month. People have been saying, "Don't panic. The signings are going to come in." We've seen Targets go. Look, we've seen Sule go. We've seen, I think yesterday we saw Yotta go to Nottingham Forest for ridiculously low fees, as around 7 million plus add-ons. Plenty of other targets going as well. We're seeing bids fail. This drama with Duran is dragging on. We've got 4 weeks left of the window, 3 weeks left till the season starts. Everyone's getting a bit tense now, getting a bit frustrated. And then all of a sudden we pull one out of the bag, and it is virtually done. He's having his medical as we speak, and he's expected to fly over with the squad, so he might even play against Palace, feature against Palace at the weekend, and that is Crysencio Summerville, or Jimmy Summerville as everyone's calling him, from Leeds. I'll start with you, John. What are your thoughts on this signing when it happens, not if it happens, because it's done. It is done.
Well, it's quite exciting. I think for me, it's very exciting that the fact that we're signing one of the 5 players that Paqueta fouled. Was it 5 or 4? I can't remember.
5, I think.
One of the guys that he took out is Crysencio Summerville. So I don't know. You know, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there.
This was the biggest payout.
John, was he one of those players? Was he? Was that him?
He was, yeah.
Oh, he was, yeah.
He was the Leeds player.
Yeah.
I've been through this with like a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
I've been through this with a legal eye. And it's a positive identification, as we say in the business. Yeah.
It was definitely Jimmy Summerville.
It was. I need to learn to pronounce his name. I think it's Crysencio or Crysencio.
Crysencio. That's what everyone's calling him anyway.
What was that, Nick?
Crysencio.
I haven't watched him. I haven't looked at any show reel or anything like that. But I'm told by very reliable sources in the know,
Yep.
in other words, you,
Yeah.
that he's a left-sided, right-footed player who will complement Bowen on the right. We need to get somebody in the middle. I've said all along we need to get 2 strikers, which is why I'm actually quite in favour of Füllkrug with Duran. But if we can fill that left-sided berth, that means that we don't have to put Kudus there, and Kudus can play a far more dangerous role, bursting in through the central mid. So I'm all for it. I like the fact that he's young. I like the fact that we haven't blown a lot of money on either has-been or an also-ran European player.
Yeah.
Jota, I understand he's gone for not very much to Nottingham Forest, which doesn't perhaps speak to his ability on the pitch. I don't know, because I don't know much about him. But am I right that Newcastle and Liverpool were interested in Summerville as well, or have I?
And Roma, he's a sought after player. He really is.
Yeah.
However, I will say if your source of information in terms of technical information was me, I only I watched a show reel yesterday, and I've done a little bit of googling. So he's not a player that I've watched really over the course of 90 minutes. I don't think.
No, but if it is right, again, it's my mantra. I should never believe the rumours. But if it's right that other top Premier League clubs have been looking at him, then
he is lightning.
bodes well.
He's lightning, John. He really is. He runs at fullbacks. He's a tricky little winger, exactly what we all love. He's exactly the type of player that we love. To add to the raft of other players that are direct runners, he's very technical as well. Does that thing where he runs down the left, fakes, chops in on his right hand side, and he can pull the trigger. He scores some lovely goals. I think it's a wonderful signing. Now I've heard a lot of people criticise him. They say, he can be a bit lazy. He can go missing in games. He doesn't defend. Well, he's not a defender for a start. And when he played for Leeds, he was their sole creative force. They've got a good team, Leeds, for the Championship. But he wasn't tasked with running back. He was the player
of the season in the Championship.
He was a 2024, 23-24 player of the season. So, but he was the player that was tasked with kind of sitting in the hole. He didn't have to track back. He was like our Payet, if you like. Now he's not going to be afforded that same level at West Ham because we've got a lot of players like him. So he will need to press. He will need to track back. He will need to do stuff like that. But Jay, what do you think? What are your thoughts on old Jimmy?
Well, first and foremost, he's straight into the first 11, as far as I'm concerned. He's not one. He don't need warming into it. In our current squad, he's the guy that goes straight in on that left-hand side. That's a no-brainer. Now, if you watched I watched the show reels you did. I was impressed with as I said to you earlier, Nick, what he's got. He's going to get us fouls. That's another thing. He's going to get us a lot of fouls because he will frustrate the life out of Premier League defenders, especially the big ones. Because if you watch, the most impressive thing I found of his show reels, it weren't the skills so much. It was how when he beat a man, he's like Kudus. He can hold much bigger players off, which winds people up. And if you see he's got
that low centre of gravity, and he's got that low centre of gravity,
and he knows how to use it. He knows how to use it. I've been trying to do that with my boy, how to get your arm up, because it's what it is. Football it's more about what you can do off the ball with your body to get by a man than it is just to try and beat a man. And what he's got in abundance is his feet are, like I said to you, he's got that flick of the foot that you think, all right, yeah, I know what you're going to do. But then he's gone. He's flicked it another way, and he's gone 5 yards, like an Mbappe. Yeah. So he was involved. I looked at his stats. He was involved in over 20 goals last season. He had 10 assists. And if you look at his assists, they're them passes where you go, oh, look at that. Like, they are crisp. Yeah. There's just the right weight. So I think there's a lot more to his game than just his flicks and chicks. I think by the looks of things, he's got a good footballing brain, and he seems like he enjoys assisting as much as he does banging them in. Like you said, Nick, that one where he cuts in on the left and he pings it with his right, and he bends outside the goal when it hits like the top corner.
And he can use his left foot as well. So it ain't like the fullback thinks he's always going to go inside. He's not. He will go down the wing. He can put a ball in with his left foot as well. But yeah, what you said there about his low centre of gravity, and he can hold bigger players off. That strikes me. If you look at youth football, he looks like a kid that played up a few age groups his whole development years, because you see that, didn't you? They're all arms and elbows, and they know exactly what to do to hold players off. He's very exciting, very direct, and when you consider that you've got him running with pace and trickery on the left-hand side and intent, with Emerson just behind him on the overlap. You've got Paqueta just behind him as well. Sorry, not Paqueta. You've got Kudus, hopefully Paqueta, just behind him. Kudus will just be running through the middle. Bowen on the right-hand side. And then I personally believe that it's looking like the Füllkrug deal is done. Now, I can't believe, nobody can convince me that we haven't gone for Duran, so we're going for Füllkrug instead, because they're two completely different players. I think that he was always going to... I reckon this deal was basically already agreed, and we're pushing on with that now because the Duran one's hanging on. That was more difficult to do. I think we're getting Füllkrug, but I also think we're going to get Duran as well. I do. I don't know where this money's coming from, but you can't go from Duran to Füllkrug. They're two completely different profiles of striker, but what they are is a different option. So depending on how Lopetegui wants to approach the opposition, he's got a different striker for a different application. And they're not going to threaten each other. Duran ain't going to get the arsehole playing behind Watkins because they're quite similar, and he's never going to play in front of Watkins. This is different. So you can have two strikers when they're different like that. Also, Füllkrug is an absolute monster in the air. Monster. Duran's good as well. So you could, I can almost, if we was to manage to pull those two off, imagine like, I don't know, we're 1-0 down, last 20 minutes, throw two players up front and just start whipping them balls into the box to Duran and Füllkrug. It gives you lovely options. But sort of moving on from Summerville then, John, what are your thoughts on Füllkrug? Do you believe it? Do you think it's going to happen?
I'm actually very much in favour of it, funnily enough.
Okay.
I'll just say with Summerville, it's less the player, because I can't pretend to know much about him. It's the type of player.
Yeah.
It's the signal that this is sending to the likes of us, which is an offensive, left-sided player, but he's a player who, like Jay said, he's going to draw fouls. I understand that from you, he's got a lot of pace. He's an offensive, attacking player. Now, we weren't during the Moyes era exactly blessed with many signings of that ilk, were we? So
also, John, not forgetting, we've got Guilherme, who everyone keeps forgetting about.
Yeah. Well, exactly. But he's maybe one for the future, and maybe a very far-sighted investment. But for me, it's the message that it sends out to those of us who are crying out for football rather than anti-football. We'll be playing with the ball rather than without it, and it's a massive sort of reformation of the way, hopefully, that we can expect for us to be playing on the pitch. Füllkrug, I have had a look at, actually. I think he scored a couple of goals in the Euros, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
And he's held his place in the Dortmund side for a while. I think was it Bremen he was with before.
Dortmund. Yeah.
Dortmund. He's 31 years old, but he's not going to be starting every game. And I've always said that I think we need to get two strikers. I don't want to be down on Antonio, but I'd like to see him moved on because it's time. And I don't like the podcast. I don't like, he's been a fantastic servant, but I just feel that it's almost like he's outgrown the club in terms of his persona.
Yeah.
He doesn't, for me, fit in with the future, the kind of team ethic that I want to see. I'd rather Danny Ings stay than Antonio. So I think if we had Duran, I'm getting more and more persuaded about Duran now.
You will love Duran. If he comes in, if Duran comes in, John, you'll fall in love with him because he is a.
I was, as you know, I was always a little bit iffy about him, which was the disciplinary and the sort of temperamental side. But I think we can all see West Ham have been playing dirty, and there might be reasons for some of the dissent that he's been showing.
Yeah.
I would love it if we got him and Füllkrug to come on as a sort of an impact type sub, or maybe play a full 90 minutes in various cup games, whatever.
Yeah.
For me, the prospect of Summerville and Füllkrug, they tick a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
And they cure a lot of problems, provided we can move the players on. But I guess we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be in favour of Füllkrug as a second striker. I won't be happy if he is our primary striker. I really won't, because
Totally.
he's not mobile. He's not as slow as what I've been alluding to, and that's another reason why his age isn't really that important, because I don't think his game is about pace. I don't think Füllkrug's game is about pace anyway, and that's really mainly what you lose when you get as you age. But him, Füllkrug and Durant, that is fucking outstanding. All of a sudden, I'm all over Füllkrug because we've got the primary striker, we've got that Durant, we've got that kind of spark. Because I do feel like what we need going into next season, just to kick us on and kick us out of that Moyes era, and that is why I think Durant's so important. We need to drop a bomb on that team. We need a spark. We need fireworks. I do think that Durant is that. You know, if he comes in time for Villa, he will fucking score against them. He will celebrate in front of Emery. He'll become an instant West Ham hero. He really will. He's going to show absolutely no class whatsoever when he scores against them. He's not, because he's not that way. But
if you looked at potentially what we would have ahead of the back four, Alvarez at the base, Kudus, Paqueta, Summerville, Duran, Bowen.
Yeah.
I mean, that six are going to score a lot of goals, and they're going to
it's
strike the fear of
delicious.
God into a lot of defences. It's very
Absolutely.
exciting.
Right. First and foremost, over last season, if you look at Füllkrug, including Champions League, he played, I think, was it 44 games. He was actually involved in 25 goals, 15 that he banged in and 10 that he assisted.
I've read that.
Nick sort of already stole a bit of my thunder on with the age thing, because with his game, pace is nothing to do with his game. He's one of them more old-fashioned timing centre forwards. He's got great timing. He can read when he needs to make a run, but he's not obviously going to take the ball up like a Duran and run 40 yards and beat 5 players. That's not his game. But what he does in the Lopetegui system, with the likes of what you've just named, John, as that 6, what he does, you could potentially, if you've got Füllkrug up top, like as the main man, you could even push Bowen in with him, put Kuds back out on the wing. So with the 6 that you just labelled, just repeating what I've just said, basically, Füllkrug, he's actually a piece that I didn't even see that was missing. But it makes sense, because like you just said, all them others, there's goals in all of them. You put Füllkrug there, you can then spearhead him with, it could be a fluidity of switching. Well, let's put Kuds in with him for a minute, then put Kuds out on the right. Let's bring Bowen in. Let's bring Summer. You can do that with him, because what he does, and if you look at his assists, he can hold the ball up, hold the man off, and just slip the ball through for someone with pace to run onto. Over to Nick.
This is what I am really hoping that we might be able to do next season. I got criticised by somebody in the comments when I said, I'm hoping that Lopetegui will develop a flexible system where he can do what you just said, which is have Füllkrug and somebody else up top, Kudus drifting in behind them, maybe as number 10. It gives that front 6 has so much potential to almost play like a total football style. They can all interchange or move into slightly different formations if they're chasing a goal with 5 minutes to go. I don't think I'd ever really want to see Duran and Füllkrug playing the same 11, but you can mix and match with that.
I think you could do a 4-4-2 with a big man, quick man when you're desperate. Last 10 minutes. Yeah. I think that could work. Right, I'm gonna talk about someone else now. I sort of mentioned it before the show. So I've been talking about someone called Richard Rios, who was another name that was passed to me from the same guy that told me about Duran a while ago. X has actually come out and reported today that we are in talks for Richard Rios. So that's been confirmed. It's a player that we've already spoken about. He's the Colombian that plays for Palmeiras, who is the same team that we got Guilherme from. Guilherme's been quoted as saying that he is quite simply, by far, the best player he's ever played with. He's a central midfielder with immense talent. What that would mean, undoubtedly, if we was getting Rios in, would spell the end for Paqueta. That's Paqueta replaced. But I think we kind of know where we stand with Paqueta anyway. He's either going to get banned or sold. Unfortunately, I think that's just where we stand with Paqueta. Now, I don't know what the deal was going to cost. I don't know what the deal was going to cost because he's got 100 million release clause, obviously. we're not gonna meet that. What I do know is that you can get some really, really juicy deals from Brazil. In fact, I know with Guilherme, if you look at the way that deal is structured, it's shown as 25 to 30 million. It bloody ain't. We haven't paid very much up front for him at all. The way that the deals are structured, it's all incentive based, and it would be similar if we was to go and get this player, even though he's an established player, one of the stars of the Copa. We'd pay a lot of money for him, but I think we could afford it because with the Brazilian club Palmeiras, we could structure the deal in such a way where we could afford it, maybe spread it over a couple of years. I don't know. The other thing, John, we know that, and this isn't from any information, this is just me spitballing. We know that Paqueta was pushing a move back to Brazil, wasn't he? He was apparently he was orchestrating that loan move. I wonder, would we be able to sort out some sort of part exchange deal with Lucas Paqueta and Richard Rios? Because they're like-for-like players, and Paqueta is a Brazilian star. What do you reckon?
Well, his value's dropped big time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever happens, I don't know. I mean, in their like minds, which clubs in Brazil or elsewhere would want to take on a player with the amount of shit hanging over his head that Paqueta has?
I don't know. Have you heard what Sullivan? Have you heard the angle that Sullivan's taken with the FA? He's talking about going to the who's the main body of sport? It's in Switzerland. I can't think what they call it.
Law of arbitration of sports.
Law of arbitration in sports. And what they're saying is that this deal, because it was in Brazil, this is outside the FA's jurisdiction. That's what they're trying to say.
But it's not outside. That's nonsense because it is in the FA's jurisdiction because the fouls were committed here.
This is true. Okay, you've got to spoil it.
You've got to spoil it. Just, I'm sorry to kill that stone dead, but that's if that is that's a representation of how Sullivan's brain works.
That's apparently so. Apparently so. That's how desperate it's getting. So now you've said that, it makes sense.
I need to go and get a visual aid. Hold on.
Okay, all right, no worries. Jay, I still can't see, or I can see you, but you're frozen, and I've not been able to hear you for about the last 15 minutes. I'll tell you what, where are we? You got a visual aid?
I'm back. Now look.
You're back.
This show is brought to you.
Yes.
I've always wanted to do this.
Go on.
Because you never bloody do it. This show is brought to you, viewers, by the Kenton Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. Established in 1982 on the return of the Smith family to England after 2 generations of tea planting in northeast India, some people I expect will say was racist. They have an extensive range of over 1,000 teas and coffees, all packed fresh to order at their factory in the village of Putney.
Love that.
Brilliant.
In the Garden of England. So I went there. Your mate David, who looks suspiciously like Frank Lampard.
He's a great guy, isn't he? He's a great guy.
He does look a bit like Frank Lampard. I haven't said that to him because he might not give me such a generous discount. But coffee, he tells me this is an acquired taste, which probably means I'm going to hate it.
John, are you saying that you're a beneficiary of an even bigger discount than the Claret 15 discount that you can use online in their store? If you know, do you get an even bigger discount?
Sorry, Nick, you've cut out. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've just finished a bag of chocolate flavour one. Dave doesn't recommend mocha to the uninitiated.
Right.
I had a nice chat with him, actually, to be serious for a moment. Lovely bloke, Dave. Hello, David. Nice to meet you. We had a chat about dogs and coffee.
If you use our discount code Claret15, you will get 15% off at the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. You'll find their link in our description.
There you go. Sorry to interrupt, but
that's all right.
You've got to keep the money rolling in, haven't you, Nick?
You have. You know. So, Jay, tell me quickly. Let's get back to that. Richard Rios. What would you think of that? Of bringing him in?
There's not much information that is actually about him. There's some good show reels. It would be the only reason I would say it's even worth considering as a swap for Paqueta is only because of all the bag of rubbish that's currently hanging around Paqueta. But in answer to your question, in honesty, I don't know enough about Richard Rios. I've seen a few bits of him. I wouldn't compare him to Paqueta. He might be a like for like from one perspective, but he's not done enough to say that he's a like for like in ability and a like for like in a swap deal. That's where I stand on that.
All right, look, very quickly. So, look, we know the last positions that we're looking at filling. A centre back, although that might be on the back burner now. We're still in for Todibo. They've put an offer in, but we know that's a player that don't want to come to us. But failing that, I've not been displeased with Aguirre from what I've seen of him. We've still got Mavropanos. So I don't think centre back is a priority position now. I don't think
I
it
would
is.
love to see Aguirre get his confidence back and get back to where he was before the World Cup.
Yes, absolutely.
Am I right about that? He joined us before the World Cup, didn't he?
Did he join us? Yeah, no, he did because he faked injury
I've
before
got a
the World Cup.
memory of I think it was 2 years ago we bought him, and he hurt himself against Rangers, and he missed a couple of months. Then he came into the side where he hurt himself against either Celtic or Rangers. Came into the side in October or so, and I felt that he played really, really well. Then we broke for the World Cup.
Yeah.
You see, for me, the jury is still out on Mavropanos. He's
got a mistake in him, hasn't he?
He has got a mistake on him, and I don't want to try and get. I can't pretend I've got inside Aguirre's head, but I can't help but notice that his form dropped badly when at a time when David Moyes would often go public. He reminded me of Redknapp sometimes, the way he would implicitly point the finger at certain players in the media. And Aguirre had a bad run of that. And I think it's similar to Issa Diop. Now, Issa Diop was poor for quite a while. Why was that? Because he's a young guy playing in England with David Moyes as his manager.
Yeah.
I've got a mate of mine at Fulham. He doesn't always get in the starting lineup at Fulham, but he's loved at Fulham. He's a player, in my mind, we should never have sold, because that game we played in Lyon, which was our finest performance for years, he was a rock in that game, but we got rid of him. He was a confidence player. I suspect Aguirre is probably a confidence player, but he's more of a baller. And if we're going to play a system which is going to suit him, whereby he's going to have the ball at his feet and he is given license to distribute the ball, because remember, particularly his long passing is fantastic. It's as good as anybody in the side. I would love it if we could save ourselves a small fortune, try and bring him back to the polished article and see where we are by the next transfer window.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Look, at the end of the day, if we sell Aguirre now, we're selling him off the back of 2 shit years, and we're going to sell him for next to nothing, 15 million or so. He's better than that. He's far better than that. It's going to cost us double the money to replace him. So I would rather see him given time. The other one, this is going to rub you up the wrong way, John, because I know you love him. The other one's Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, if we sign him, he's going to be the best player ever. I'm going to love him. I am. But
I was at the cup final. He was magic that day.
But listen, it looks like it's true that he isn't sold on coming to West Ham. He really isn't. You know, he doesn't want to. Now, that being the case, I'm going to be perfectly honest. If he doesn't want to come to West Ham and he's turning us down, fuck him, to be quite honest. That's kind of my take on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because I don't know what he really expects from. Apparently, he wants to come back to London. I personally think that's quite insulting. I know he's at Man United at the moment. I know they're a huge club, but they've been crap for They've been crap since he's been there, to be honest. So for him to completely and utterly, they're willing to sell him for 10 million, 15 million. So why he would kind of dismiss us out of hand, I don't know. For me, like I said to you, if he comes to us, it'd be a completely different story. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is great. You know, thank you. But if he doesn't, like I said to you, it's going to be one of those deals where I'm not going to blame the club. I think that's more down to a deluded player, to be quite honest, for me. Because I think he would fit, John. I think he would fit the club. I think he'd do really well for us.
I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a really good player. What do you reckon, Jay?
Well, the thing is, I love the player. I think his statistics, when it comes to what a defender should be, which is a defender, he's second to none. On a one-on-one, he's very hard to get round. Like, he reads the game well. People say he's not great going forward. He's good enough going forward. The problem is, I don't think you should sign any player that don't want to come to your club. That's my take on it.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. And we're seeing that more and more now. Obviously, we're seeing that with Fofana. Well, it's Fofana and Todibo. You know, two players that now would rather go to Champions League clubs, which, look, you can understand. They've got no affiliation with West Ham. Fofana and Todibo didn't grow up supporting West Ham, so it's going to be down to the best deal for them at the end of the day.
The other thing with Fofana, Nick, sorry to interrupt you, the other thing with Fofana is he going to get first team football? Forget Champions League, because he would have to push out Alvarez or
he'd be in there sat next to Alvarez 100%. He would be.
So
in there.
who do you make way for then?
He would probably play. I think you'd play him over Fofana in that position, because you'd play him over Paqueta in the 8, because I just think
Paqueta on the bench.
I think you would if you got Fofana in. If you got Kudus in the 10. If you've got Kudus in the 10 and you've got Yusuf Fofana, who's, I think, one of the best, most explosive 8s around. He's a bullet. He's got everything you need. He gives you that defensive cover. He drives with the ball. It's a big one. It's a big call. But yeah, I think he's more of a complete midfielder than Paqueta. It's like we're preparing for life without Paqueta, though, John.
Just to say, so what he's saying about Fofana, I was trying to think who he reminds me of. Do you remember, John? Obviously, you can relate something back. But do you remember what Torre was like for Man City and for Barcelona? I'm not saying he's as good as Torre yet, but he has got that about him. However, I don't see any manager with Paqueta available for West Ham not fitting Paqueta in. I just don't see
I completely agree. I totally agree with that, actually. He's very reminiscent of Yaya Toure. They're almost like cut from the same cloth. But like you, Jay, I just can't see any manager leaving Paqueta on the bench.
Well, I think somebody like Lopetegui would. I think if you've got a balanced team, you've got a guy who you could almost understand him being left on the bench at the moment, because he's got the court case hanging over him. He definitely dropped off towards the end of last season. He did. And I think you've got to look at the team. What's right for the team? It's a bit like England trying to.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I have wanted us to sign him since. Was it you, Nick, who watched him play against Arsenal?
Yeah,
a year ago?
Yeah.
So
did David Moyes. He got man of the match and scored a goal. And David Moyes said he weren't.
I'd love him to join us.
Yeah.
I'm just not. This whole Paqueta business has really thrown a spanner in the works, hasn't it? We still can't plan until we know where we are with him. But I'd love to join us. Love it.
I do think they are. I think if you read between the lines and you look at the fact that we was linked with Kante, we've tried for Fofana, we're linked with Rios. They're clearly looking. They're not going out there looking to spend 35 to 50 million on a central midfielder to sit on a bench either, John. So they're looking for somebody to come in and start. That's what they're looking at. The other thing as well, which we could be overlooking. I don't know. It's a bit unthinkable, but could be Alvarez, because Alvarez is a CDM. Now, if Lopetegui plays the way that we know Lopetegui to play, Alvarez would be critical to that, because he's a deep line CDM that can drop deep, split the centre halves and form a centre back. You know, he could facilitate the old way that Lopetegui plays, but we don't know that Lopetegui's going to play that way. I don't think we've really seen that in mid-season. Now, if that happens and you end up playing a 3-4-3, if you play a 3-4-3, that means you've got two central midfielders. That's all you've got. So those two central midfielders need to be complete midfielders. They've got to be box to box. They've got to be everything. Could even be Alvarez potentially that they're looking at. Maybe, I don't know because I don't know why. If you've got Paqueta and you've got Alvarez and you've got Kudus in the middle, I don't know why we'd be going out looking at spending 35 to 50 million on another central midfielder.
Well, I like 3-4-3. That would be my favourite formation. I don't think we've got the defenders to cope with that. What do you reckon, Jay?
Well, this is where what you said about Nathan Gerd. If you get Nathan Gerd back to where he was going with his career, which was top fucking draw, you've got Kilman next to him. Even Mavro.
Are you convinced by Kilman though? Because I have to say I'm not yet.
He hasn't been the standout defender in pre-season. Aguirre has been.
I'm only going with what we've got at the moment. So at the moment, we've got Kilman. He's definitely got to be in that three if we're going to play a three. We've got Nath, who's got again, and I would only say I wouldn't bring Cresswell as a
No.
left-sided back three. I'd have Kilman to the left. I'd have Nath Gerd in the centre, and I'd have Mavro on the right. In that back three, and then what you've got is, and going to what we're talking about in regards to Alvarez.
Wouldn't you have, Jay? Sorry to interrupt. Wouldn't you have Knife Gerd on the left because he's got a very sweet left foot?
I would personally, because of what I've seen in pre-season, just going on that, I would put him over Kilman because, like Nick
Really?
said, funny enough, that Kilman hasn't had the best pre-season, and I do think Nath has got a better. I don't think we've seen the best of Nathan Good, and that was David Moyes'
Agreed.
fault. So we didn't get to see the defender that he wants to be, which I think is a top quality defender who could spray a ball. He can carry the ball. We forget how quick he is. He can carry the ball forward. He's one of them that will have a burst. But
He's a
Moyes would
footballer.
always say, "Yeah, get back. Keep the
That is
shield on."
why. Two reasons why he failed. Well, he didn't fail, but he was poor under David Moyes in the latter stages. Two reasons: his confidence was shot, and he wasn't allowed to play football. So, Nick, Jay's point is that he I think I'm right in saying, Jay, you'd like a 3-4-3. At the back, he would play Kilman on the left, Knife Gerd in the middle, because he doesn't feel that Kilman's had the greatest start.
No.
I disagreed. I would say play Knife in his best position, which I think would be on the left of a three, and then he'd play Mavropanos on the right side.
I think the only thing, I don't think we will see that though, John. I think that Kilman, his best performances were under Lopetegui when he played that kind of hybrid three at the back formation, three in possession anyway. Kilman was the left hand side player. What he does is he fills that side very, very well because it allows your fullback to bomb on. He can do that. He's very technical. Now, I know that Aguirre can do that as well, but the issue is I think that he's been bought for that side. I think Aguirre could potentially play the I don't know. It's so difficult. All I know is I think I'd like to see Aguirre given a chance.
I agree.
Agreed.
I'd like to see Aguirre given a chance. And we do need that right wing back as well. If not Aaron Wan-Bissaka, they need to get that sorted because I know you love Soufal, John, but we can't go into next season with Soufal as our primary right wing back.
I love the guy because he's all heart, because he took on the entire Frankfurt fan base single-handedly after the semi-final that time. Anyone who wants to take me on, they will have a problem. He's a great guy, and he does a lot for the community. He won another award at the end of the season for work he does in the community.
Yeah,
he's a lovely bloke, and I'd love to see him stay at the club as a backup. I would like to see Wan-Bissaka join us. I just hope, because there's so many bullshit rumours around, I hope they always talk about him not wanting to come to West Ham is just more, advertising.
There are no direct quotes from the player.
No, and he'd be too professional to come out and say that.
Yeah.
So let's just wait and see. My guess is that it will be 4-3-3. I can't see Fofana coming. I hope Bissaka does. I would have Fofana over Rios, but until Paqueta is sorted out, I think to buy a top quality central midfield player, particularly when we've got earthy Potts to come through, is maybe not the top of our priorities. Because I had a conversation with Kevin Keane, because when I used to sit in the really posh seats, which were shit because I used to have people with babies sat next to me, I had a conversation with Kevin Keane.
Yeah.
Because you used to be allowed in this bar called The Forge, which was complete rip-off, really. But people like Kevin Keane would often be seen in there. And I had a chat with him about a week after we won the youth trophy or whatever it was. So just over a year ago. And I was really impressed with how indiscreet he was, because he was very open about the fact, I want this team to stay together and I want to see this team out there on the pitch in the Premier League.
Yeah.
He wanted to see the fruits of his efforts with that winning
Absolutely,
team.
Yeah.
And they're all graduate. I mean, but Mubama's gone, good riddance in my book. Marshall has flattered to deceive, I think, over the last year, but we do appear to have three diamonds there, don't we? I want to see those players breaking through.
Definitely.
And I would rather, much as I think Fofana is a wonderful player, for the sake of team and club unity, and we always go on about the academy. Well, when did we last actually produce a successful academy player? It's Declan Rice.
Mm.
It's time that we were true to our so-called heritage, and it is time that George Earthy, um, Freddie Potts, and Lewis Orford were given a chance. And I
I
feel
think
really
I
strongly
think
about
so.
that.
I think so. But my honest opinion is, as this window is progressing, I really and truly believe that I'm not confident that we're going to see that. Now, I think Lopetegui's been brought in on a 2-year contract. He's clearly been mandated with getting us back into Europe. So he's not, he's probably not going to be looking too much for the future. We're out of Europe, so we're only going to be playing once a week, apart from when we get into the cup games. We've already oversubscribed in central midfield. If you look
Nick,
at,
sorry to interrupt you. I'm not saying we should start those guys, but at least have them on the bench. What do you reckon, Jay?
Well, I mean, I know Nick, and it is for the youth, and you are too. I am massively for the youth coming through for the reasons you said, which was in regards to, we lost a lot of West Ham, and I don't care what anyone says, due to David Moyes' reign. We lost the West Ham bit of West Ham, which
We
is
lost the West Ham way
we
under.
love.
Moyes.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
love youth. We promote youth. We bring
Yeah.
youth through. We don't keep farming them out on these Ponzi loans and never giving them an opportunity and just killing their confidence. For me, the problem is currently with the youth system in West Ham is we've changed the way a loan was actually what it was used for. A loan was actually used to put them out, and then you bring them in the next season and you give them a run.
It's as if our loan system has just been turned on its head. So in the old days, you'd send a player out on loan with the view or with the objective that he would get an education, become a better footballer. Then you bring him back and gradually bed him into the team. That is not happening. It hasn't happened with Marshall. It hasn't happened with, so far it hasn't happened with Potts. We need to give that a chance.
I personally think if you've got a player that you consider a gem, you don't send them out on loan. Really, how many players nowadays that go out on loan, come back and break into the first team? I don't think they do. The last player that we had break him through the the last two that broke him through the youth team was Johnson and Declan Rice. Neither one of those two went out on loan. They didn't. Declan Rice was as shoddy as anything when he came in. Yes, he had talent, but it took him ages to acclimatise. He made lots of mistakes, and the only reason that Declan Rice became a £100 million player was because they persisted with him. They played him. They gave him game time. They didn't send him out on loan and leave him in the under-23s until God knows how long. He's been playing competitive football at the top level since the age of 18. That's why he's as good as he is now.
And I think a real unsung hero in that story is actually Manuel Pellegrini.
Absolutely.
He absolutely is. He is. Well, he's the reason that he became a CDM for a start.
Yeah.
He's the one that kind of that gave him that chance. He saw his talent. But talking to people that do know the academy and know the ability of these players, and also were kind of there or thereabouts when Declan Rice was there as well. We've got players, or one player in particular, in Lewis Orford, who at this stage of his career, people are saying that he's further along. He's a more complete player than what Declan Rice was at the same age. For a start, he's a complete central midfielder now. Declan Rice became a midfielder. He was a centre-back. There is a player that should be ready to go, that should be, and like you're saying, John, you haven't got to start them. I weren't suggesting that. But keep them on the bench, give them time, bring them in, develop them within the team. But I'm just starting to worry when you look at, because make no bones about it, we did offer Lewis Orford on a part exchange. We offered him on a fucking part exchange for Duran.
That was a disgrace. Absolutely.
That's what we did. And then there was a massive boot off with a big PR meltdown.
Yeah.
And they've come out and farmed out by what's his name? By Sean Whetstone, saying, "Oh no, it was never us that wanted to sell him. It was Aston Villa that asked for him." That's nonsense. That's just them kind of reneging on it, and that's the worrying thing at West Ham. I don't think the left hand knows what the right hand's doing. It's just really, if that had happened, that really does piss on the. That would have really pissed on the academy. There would have been no point to it, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm glad that he signed his 5-year contract, because he's a fucking brilliant player. But do I think he's going to get his chance at West Ham? I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. No, I don't.
It's almost like you're. I mean, for Moyes to treat them in the way that he did. It's like you're expunging any belief, any hope, any. Why am I here? What am I doing this for? If they don't value me, I mean, these are kids, teenagers.
And listen,
in psychology to realise how damaging that is potentially to young kids like that.
But at 18 years old, like I said to you, we've seen a 16-year-old representing Spain. In the Euros just gone. Yeah. If these players are good enough, play them. It's the only way they're going to develop. And if you look at the way that clubs are constrained by PSR now and everything else, it's never been more important to utilise your academy and develop what you've got so that you can send it on. Because if you could develop Lewis Alford, into a top, hopefully they stay here for their entire career. But if you can,
all three of them, Nick, all three of them, not just him.
But worst case scenario, you play Lewis Alford, you play Potts, and then in 3 years' time, you've either got a player that's going to play for West Ham for the next 10 years, or you've got a player worth 30 or 40 million, which is pure profit. So I don't know why they don't seem to be embracing it. But then again, we don't know that. The only thing that does concern me is the fact that we're looking for central midfield targets. That Kante one, I looked at that and I was like, what the fuck is that? I'll tell you what, if that move alone, if I was Alford or Potts, I'd have read that story and gone, what? Can
I just say on that? Sorry, can you? To me though, Nick, what I've learned over this and getting to know you, and obviously you're the first person I've ever known who has got an inside bit of information to these spaces. And what it seems to be, mate, more than ever, is these days all of this shite gets fed out just to get people talking. That's all. I can't put any weight or sense in none of it. None of it.
No.
What I would say though, in regards to the youth, currently, we had near enough when it comes to that league of how many minutes youth players were given last season, we were near enough down the bottom, right?
Yeah.
This season, that ain't going to be the case. And I'm sure with Mark Noble, for me, I don't think he gets. I'm not saying he's got so much weight. However, I don't believe that he's not been put in that position to help rebuild. Let's face it, if we're just looking at this from a business perspective, we've got the most valuable youth academy in the Premier League. They won everything. How can you not see it as that? So there has to be this season someone with a bit of, even if it's just from a business perspective, that goes, do you know what? All of these millions that we're talking about, hold on, our last biggest player that we've ever sold, he came free from the youth academy. So why not give that another shot? And we've got three that I do think this year that we're going to see a lot more of than we saw last year. Sorry to interrupt.
Can I just ask a rhetorical question? If we scroll back 30 years, the most successful manager of all, Sir Alex.
I know you're going to say.
If he'd had George Earthy, Freddie Potts, Lewis Alford, would he put them in the first team?
All day long.
And Alan Hansen would have said, you can't win anything with kids. Sir Alex Ferguson would have turned those three into superstars.
He would have. He would have.
In 2 years, he won the league with them.
Well, Alex Ferguson was involved with the youth academy right through the young ages. I mean, David Beckham was introduced to the senior team and senior players from a ridiculously young age.
But unfortunately, at West Ham, we have always lacked foresight and vision. And we would go. I mean, we've gone off at a bit of a tangent, but actually, we began this conversation by discussing Fofana. I would rather, not much as I love Fofana, I would rather say, no, do you know what? We're going to do this the West Ham way.
Yeah.
And we're going to give this a chance because we got three diamonds here.
Yeah.
And we're going to polish them and we are going to make this work. And we are going to turn them into world-class players. There's no ifs and no buts. There's no maybes. There's no what if. We're going to turn them into quality world-class players.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one, no, this is what I sometimes feel that I ought to manage that. I'm not tactically as astute.
But the thing is, John, you're not even talking like something that's, it's so, that's so profound. No, it's not. Like I said, you're looking at something that is so fucking sorry, try not to swear, so basically glaringly obvious
Staring us
that it's
in the
going to
face.
save you so much money, so much time. All right, we've got, all right, Fofana's one player. We've got 3 that we could potentially rotate in that, see how they're getting on, like you said. But then you're just concentrating on areas, born and bred West Ham. They tick all the boxes of what we want. But then what you have got is, right, so where do we really need to concentrate? Well, it's only really right back and striker. That's it.
Yeah, but do you know something? Even the very top teams, they use their academies. If you look at Chelsea and you look at Man City, Man City make a fucking fortune out of selling their kids. And the only reason that these kids become worth money is because they get minutes on the pitch. They'll get 20 minutes, they'll get 30 minutes, they'll have all the superstars around them. All of a sudden, you've got, what's his name, who went to Chelsea and who was playing for England. What's his name now? Cole Palmer. You get players like that, and that's only through developing them. So why we're kind of so dead against it and don't look at that, I'll never know. I'll never understand. It's
nonsense, Nick. It's a nonsense. I can't give. There's no one that can give me a reason at the moment for why we're not using our youth, because of all the so-called troubles we've got. Well, then using our youth really solves quite a lot of that at the moment.
It does.
And like you say, you can only go on, okay, this crazy idea of using our youth. What happened last time? Well, 100 million happened last time because it was because of using a freebie that got developed and given the belief. Like you said, he fucked up so much to start with, Declan Rice. But they kept putting him in. And so before he knew it, he went, right, no, I'm Declan Rice. I'm West Ham.
Can I ask you something? What is the fucking difference between a youth player acclimatising to the speed of the Premier League or a foreign player coming over from another league having to acclimatise to the speed of the Premier League?
Right.
What's the difference?
Mate, there's more similarities with the Championship these days and the Premier League than any other league in the world. I don't give a shit. You tell me any other league in the world, when it comes to the pace of the league, the Championship is as close as anything else.
Yeah. It's just lacking
out of place when he came on for 20 minutes.
Nope.
And scored that. Remember how somebody in the press.
How he celebrated.
Did he look out of place?
He looked like the best, most competent midfielder on the pitch, John. For that brief period.
On the turn, he was catching the ball, he was looking up. It was wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
It was.
But look. I mean, look. We might just be, so wounded from West Ham of the recent past, where we've not given people a chance. We might see something different under Lopetegui. We can't really judge him until we've seen what he's going to do. I'm just worried. I'm worried that we're going to burn through an absolutely golden generation of players, because they are. But they will only become great players. And that's the other thing as well. You get fans come out and say, well, how many of these players go on to embarrass us? They don't go on to embarrass us because we completely and utterly fucking waste their development. These great talents, we leave them sitting in the under-23s till the age of 21, so they don't get that 3 years that Declan Rice got playing senior football, and then we loan them out, and then, I'm not being funny, they're 22. They haven't really played any proper minutes, so they aren't the player that they could have been.
How old is How old is Kobe Manu? 19? Kobe Manu?
19,
He broke in at 17, didn't he? He broke in at 17 or 18.
Well,
so I don't know.
He's a 19-year-old
it's a big nonsense
he's
for me.
probably older than the guys we're talking about. Younger than the guys we're talking about. And there he is in the European Championships, playing a blind.
Yeah. Right, and that was the end of the Boozecast. Thank you very much for watching. As I said at the start of the show, if you enjoy this content that we're making at the moment, please leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. Don't forget, most importantly, drop a like on the video. And I'm going to leave you with our channel partners, Fore Security. Speak to you soon. Come on, you irons. Claret and Booze are proudly sponsored by Fore Security Solutions. Fore Security specialise in electronic security and building intelligence. We provide a complete service suite from detailed design, expertly managed projects, as well as unparalleled 24/7 aftercare packages. If you've got any opportunities that we could assist you with in your business or at home, please reach out directly to me on the email at the bottom of the screen or via the details in the description of this video.
Who knows? It might even be me that comes out to survey your requirements.